debt is now, after spending $3 trillion to service the debt is still higher than before he became the finance minister. So the debt is now $2.3 trillion from $2 trillion.
All right, so hold on. Let's go. Look, we want to make sure that
our reserves are at the highest levels they have been in decades. We have halved the national debt from 144% of GDP to now what, 74% of GDP. These are real things that have happened to transform our economy under the direction of Minister Clarke as the Minister of Finance.
Nothing when me talk no hard for find. Because this is the digital age. The Prime Minister is still a analog politician operating in a digital time. That's why he lies them a find him out. Because I know like one time when you have to go reel one tape, when his uncle TVG or JBC or RGR would have the tape. Anybody now go up on them smartphone, Prime Minister, and bring up back your speech from when? Anybody go up on them phone, bring up back Parliament from when? So your lies are find you out. I know many men I wish dead upon you. And your lies are come home to roost. Lying lips is abomination, my brother. So understand yourself. It's not many men wishing death on you. It is your lies and your half-truth. So anybody who is interested in finding the truth will find it. Because remember again, these are digital times. These are digital times. No more analog, brother. So you and your analog style now go work, come out here and make up your face and talk loud. We are research you. And we're finding the information. The GLP crashed the economy between 2007 and 2011. The PNP resurrect the economy between 2012 and 2016. And here you are, Mr. Prime Minister, wrecking the economy again. That's why Nigel, Clarke, a runway, and go on like the best thing since sliced bread.
it was announced in August that Dr. Clarke would take the post as Deputy Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund effective Thursday, October 31st. Addressing JLP supporters, he said his resignation will take effect at midnight.
Okay. As a matter of information, though, he's going to take over from Antoinette Saye, one of 4 deputy managing directors.
Right.
So the IMF has 4 deputy managing directors.
Right.
So it's not that he's the deputy managing director. He's one of 4.
One of 4.
All right.
Yeah.
Back to his record now. When he took over, the debt to GDP was 120%.
Right.
And he's now brought it down to 72%.
Right.
When he took over, the fiscal surplus was 0.6% of GDP.
Right.
The fiscal deficit is now 1.7% of GDP.
Right.
When he took over, poverty was 12%. Poverty is now 20%.
Right.
When he took over, inflation was 3.7%. Inflation is now 5.7%.
Okay.
When he took over, the economy was growing at 1%. His own favorite agency, the PIOJ, tells us that the economy grew by 0.8% during the first 6 months of this year.
Right.
When he took over, the dollar was 121. The dollar is now 159 after 52 billion in central bank intervention.
What was it before?
121.
121. I think people are saying 121 and 20 cents or something like that.
Precisely.
Right.
It's now $159 and change after heavy central bank intervention.
Right.
The country's infrastructure is in a state of dereliction.
Right.
We have the lowest unemployment rate, but we have diminishing marginal productivity.
Right.
Per capita GDP is not increasing.
Right.
So that's his true record.
All right. So let's take these into into different areas. So fiscal management. Let's start from fiscal management. He has reduced the
debt to GDP ratio
right
from 120 to 72 now.
All right, so that's a tick. All right, that's
the
a
debt
tick.
is now, after spending $3 trillion to service the debt is still higher than before he became the finance minister. So the debt is now 2.3 trillion
Right.
from $2 trillion.
All right, so hold on. Let's go. Look, we want to make sure that this is broken down, because somebody texts us today and say, kindly take today and help us, even for 10 minutes, to break down this thing. So he has managed the debt to GDP, but in absolute terms, the debt itself is larger by, let's work out the percentage. We want people to find this out. So it was what before?
$2 trillion.
$2 trillion.
Went up to 2.3.
2.3 trillion. Wow.
Because he's still borrowing. This year we're borrowing $260 billion.
Is that 15% higher?
Yeah. And a lot of in terms of the reduction, that's why people need to understand. A lot of the reduction was due to making the Bank of Jamaica independent and taking out the Bank of Jamaica.
Yes.
Yeah. Right? So people need to understand the juggling that took place. It's just moving numbers from...
I'm kind of shocked.
I know.
So it was $2 trillion before he took over.
Yeah.
It's now
$2.3 trillion.
2.3 trillion. All right. So folk, easy math. If you take that, since it's 2, take the 2 into the 0.3, you're gonna end up with 15%. Right? You split that, right?
This year alone we're borrowing $260 billion.
So you're borrowing while you're paying this down. Why?
Okay.
Let's look at why.
Why?
May I make a guess? Because the production hasn't gone up.
Simple.
So young ones, if you are paying your neighbor, right? Let's call your neighbor Mr. Brown. You're paying your neighbor, and you're paying your neighbor in an accelerated manner because you'd want to feel good with your neighbor. But you're borrowing
from Mr. Forbes.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
yes, Forbes. Right? You're borrowing from Forbes to pay your neighbor. Forbes, have mercy on us.
Yeah.
Then do you have the right to put your hand up to when we have the neighborhood watch and the community association comes together?
Yeah.
Do you have a right to put up your hand and say we're getting better?
No. Because Mr. Forbes can just easily point you out and say, boy, you don't
shut up. Give him the money. Forbes don't do that to us, okay?
Now, if you were producing,
yes,
then you could put up your hand and shout loudly and say, boy, I am producing so I can pay back.
Right.
Yeah.
And in the context of this, the infrastructure, well, it took me 15 minutes to cross a junction a while ago. It took me 15 minutes, literally, from where does... that road that turns, so just up the top there.
Route Van.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
it took me 15 minutes from there just to cross to get to the where we can turn.
Right. So if we brought it down to a household, is that Mr. Forbes' driveway is so bad
that
it take him 15 minutes to get into the yard or from the yard to the road?
That's crazy.
Yet he's boasting that everything is okay.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then when you're going to the house now, him don't have any proper solid waste management, garbage collection. Him don't even have a garbage thing in his kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then the place can't paint. Yeah.
And we get to the worst part, but I think let's take the break.
Yeah.
Let's take the break and come back.
You're listening to Power 106 FM. The time is now
11:19.
Crime Stop Jamaica.
Everyone, welcome back. All right, so we're looking now at poverty. Folk, we're doing a quick assessment on the Minister of Finance as he steps away from the job. Right, so we get to poverty. Poverty was at basically 12%, right? It's now over 20%. So that's literally over 80% increase in something that is the real indicator of development or well-being.
Correct.
Because remember, we're looking at life expectancy, right? So we're looking at life expectancy, folk, educational investments, and economics.
Correct.
And you're saying that the poverty, which is the biggest indicator of economics,
almost doubled.
Is of import export. Can we go there?
Precisely. When right now, over the last 5 or so years, we have been running trade deficits. The difference between exports and imports have been increasing significantly. During the last 3 years, it amounted to about 15 billion Jamaican dollars.
Right.
And climbing this year already. For the first quarter of this year, it was $1.8 billion.
Yes.
For the first 4 months, it was over $2.3 billion.
Right.
Yep. What saved us is the money that we get from Jamaicans living and working overseas that we call remittances.
Right.
Last year, it dropped to 17% of GDP from 24% of GDP after COVID. So, COVID, everybody, sorry for everybody. So, now we are afloat 24% of GDP. It is now down to 17% of GDP.
Right.
Latest on the polls told you that prior to that, 35% of all households used to get remittances. Now it's down to 27% of all households. It's going to be worse if Trump wins the American election.
That's about a 20% fall. So remittances are falling.
Yep. Precisely.
And we're getting more and more.
Exports are falling, remittances are falling, and that is why the dollar is running.
Right.
Precisely.
Right.
Because there's no focus on production and exports. Yep.
All right. So let's look now at some of the. So I think you were mentioning that they've had how many consecutive?
10 consecutive quarters of deceleration in the rate of economic recovery and expansion according to statins. So for the
10. That is that the number after 9?
Yeah,
no, just making sure. Just making sure, man. I don't want to misquote you, man.
So statin told us that for the second quarter of this year, it was 0.2 percentage point compared with 2.3% in the second quarter of the previous year.
Can we contextualize that to the post-recovery period? So we had, of course, COVID. And in COVID, of course, you're going to have all of that. And if I were in his camp, I would always use a COVID flag to say
that's what they were doing.
We had some bad years. All right, shall we take the section after coming back to pre-COVID?
That's the point we're making. So we're seeing that is why we are down to the 0.1 and the 0.2 percentage point.
Right, because the COVID recovery is over.
Precisely.
What we have now is reality.
Precisely. Reality setting.
Right.
Precisely.
And that's now showing that it's...
Nothing much has been done because there was no focus on that. Yep. So that's where we are now. Back to reality. Yep. Back to reality.
Well.
Yep. So that's the legacy that is being left. Additionally, there was a massive 45 billion gap in this budget originally.
Right.
And what he has done is to sell 12 years of the receivables from Norman Manley International Airport.
That's future money.
Yeah.
Right.
In order to close that gap.
Right.
Money that we haven't heard yet.
And that will be given, I think yesterday we found that over 250,000 people have already signed up.
20 grand out of that.
Have already signed up for that.
Yeah. So that's where we are.
Roughly $20,000. I mean, if you give me $20,000 now, I would take it. But the point is, I probably don't know what to do with it.
Precisely. And bear in mind that is your children's future.
Right. I would prefer my children got it.
Precisely. Yeah. So that's the legacy.
Okay. Okie dokie.
Y'all heard it for yourself, my people. Go ahead and be the judge. Drop on a comment in the comment section and tell me what you think. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel on the road to 30K and more. Continue to support. Notification shout out goes to Hermin Mirage. Big up yourself, Hermin Mirage. Big up to each and every subscriber. Thanks for the continued support. Stay tuned for more videos. Stay tuned for more updates. Big up on yourself.